Welcome back. The world is kind of scary right now. So TikTok got banned this past Saturday. There's just so many things to unpack with this. Last year, 2024, Congress packaged the TikTok ban along with a bill to aid other nations and countries, such as Israel and the Ukraine. The issue with that is that TikTok did not have a fair chance to fight for itself, nor were politicians even able to debate whether they wanted to ban TikTok or not. If someone in Congress wanted to oppose the TikTok ban while it was proposed in that bill, they would be essentially saying no to all the foreign aid being passed in that bill. So therefore, it really did not have a chance. It was going to be passed either way because they thought it was necessary to send this foreign aid. Now, whether Congress should be concerned about supporting other countries when our country is a mess right now is a different conversation. Congress claimed that TikTok was threatening to steal our data, which was false. TikTok is an American-based company. Their parent company, ByteDance, is Chinese. TikTok itself is American-owned. It is an American company. The headquarters is in California. Republican Senator Rand Paul even said TikTok offered to host our data with an American company like Oracle, but Congress still said no. Congress had no proof that TikTok was adversarial or threatened to share our data with China. Mind you, when it was 2016, it was proven that Facebook interfered in the 2016 election. No bills were passed. No one gave a fuck. So we move into January 2025. TikTok has to present their case to the Supreme Court. Now, Donald Trump files an amicus brief, which is basically a letter, to the court asking them to issue a stay so that TikTok can have more time to negotiate a deal with an American company, assuming now the US is an American company. And the Supreme Court said no, they ignored him. Then last Friday, the Supreme Court decided to unanimously uphold the TikTok ban. Unanimously, meaning all of them said okay. They can't agree to banning guns to prevent school shootings. They can't agree to having gun regulation laws. Congress can't even agree to pay people a fair living wage. But they can all agree to ban an app that has no proof of being an adversary. But to no one's shock, the Supreme Court decided to rule with the US government. On Saturday, this past Saturday, the TikTok servers shut down and we received this message. I was literally in the middle of editing one of my last videos and posting it. It was at 69% as soon as the ban went into effect, 8:30 Pacific time. Soul crushing, truly soul crushing. I had filmed this long ass 30-minute video expressing myself, only to come 14 hours later, the app is back up. And they gave us this message. Obviously, I have a couple of issues with these messages. They're obviously propaganda. Now, to an extent, if I'm going to be fair, do I understand why they're saying that? To thank Trump? Yes, because he was the only one trying to get the Supreme Court to place a stay on the ban. Now, there's a saying going around on TikTok right now: do not thank the person who douses your house with water when they were the person to set the fire. During Trump's presidency, it was reported that Trump actually initiated the TikTok ban. He brought the idea into the ether. Now a picture is being painted of him being the hero. Am I grateful to have the app back? Yes. But it has not been the same. It's been very ominous, and they're starting to ban people. They are starting to put violations onto people in their comments for saying things that you could have said before. For instance, people are showing that they're getting banned for even just saying Republican. I will admit, TikTok was more generous in banning and violating things that were more liberal before this ban ever happened, but now is kind of on crack, which is really disheartening because that was one of the beauties of the app. And not only just with TikTok, but as a nation. You know, with the inauguration today and we want America to be colorblind, not wanting to talk about race and gender in classrooms or in everyday life. That is censorship. Here's my thing. If Congress was so worried about our data and claiming that TikTok is an adversarial app or belongs to an adversarial country, is an adversarial entity, why are you letting the CEO of TikTok go to the inauguration? Why are you letting the CEO of an alleged adversarial group buddy up to the incoming president of the United States. How does that make sense? Especially when that orange man can be bought and sold like a night worker. Why does Elon Musk have an office in the White House when he is not an elected official and he was not even born in the United States? Why? When TikTok was banned, a 19-year-old man lit a congressman's office on fire in retaliation, and it has not been spoken about on the news at all. The only place I've really seen it is TikTok. A lot of us on the app are not happy. We are not pleased with the circumstances or the outcome of this whole situation because honestly, it was preventable. If the Supreme Court just issued a stay, we would not have to go through this emotional distress. Not only did it impact influencers, but it also impacted small businesses. Imagine the damage control that small businesses have to do now since the ban has been lifted and they have more time. If Congress would have listened to us telling them that we don't want this to happen, this is a bad idea, that wouldn't even be a thing. They put us through all of this turmoil for no reason. People were going to potentially lose their jobs. And I'm not even talking about influencers. I mean, people who actually work at the TikTok headquarters. Imagine you just got through these wildfires in LA. And now all of a sudden, the government is banning the company you work for something they can't even prove. I truly believe that we are being attacked by the enemy from within. It is no surprise to me that all of these things are happening after Joe Biden tried to warn us in his farewell address about social media companies no longer providing fact checking and also essentially trying to monopolize social media. I think that the ban was intentional, not necessarily to make someone look like a certain hero, but more so to get all of the users riled up and then pacified by putting the binky right back in our mouths, because 14 hours later, they gave us back this app. They did all of that so we would be exhausted. We would not have the energy to deal with this incoming administration and what lies before us. Last week, when the ban was still being discussed and Congress was making a big deal about our data being given to China, a lot of TikTok users went to this app called Rednote. Rednote is another social media platform. A lot of people were saying that is basically the Chinese version of TikTok, but it's actually the Chinese version of Instagram and Pinterest. A lot of American users got onto Rednote and changed their lives forever. They saw Chinese people living healthy and luxurious lives, essentially what we would call the American dream. They can afford all of their expenses at a fraction of the cost. I remember someone saying that their monthly rent and expenses were $300 and they still had a lot of money, 700 plus, to spend on themselves for the rest of the month. And they live in China. I think a lot of Americans grew up with this idea that China is a third world country. If you've ever seen the interview and how they portrayed North Korea in that movie is what I assume that a lot of Americans think about China. And going to Rednote and seeing people actually live their lives, you could actually still go on the app right now. That is not the truth. It shocked people to their core because we've been living in a lie. A Chinese person on Rednote actually said, Americans think they're free because they have opinions, but they don't have choices. This is a time for community. The end to capitalism is community. Community is not a privilege only reserved for the wealthy few. We need community in order to thrive.